Good morning, everybody. Good morning. On a beautiful, beautiful summer Sunday. It is lovely to see everyone today. I am Dave Anthony. I will be the worship associate today. As you know, during the summer, the worship committee puts on a series of summer services that are led by members of our community with both the words and the music. And we are blessed today to have words from both Trent Batson and Peter Larman as our guest speakers. Trent will be giving the larger of our two talks, which include poems which he wrote. He's a retired professor and a university administrator. He's in his third year here at First Unitarian, serves on the Green Team and the Justice League, and his current areas of research are in human evolution and climate change. Peter Larman will also be speaking and has been a First U member since 2020. During his time with us, he's coordinated the strategic planning for the Prudential Committee while also serving on the Mosaic team. He led 3 years of research into the congregation's early involvement in slavery and slavery-related business, and he co-wrote the book, A Church in a Triangle, which arose out of that research. Together with Kate Niles, Peter currently co-chairs the Owning Our History Projects team. He is a retired second career minister ordained by the United Church of Christ. And we also have the great pleasure today to have music from the organ by our own Nancy Nicholson, which we will hear in just a moment. And so now, if we could settle our hearts and minds and settle into our seats as we begin our worship together today. And now is our time of greeting. I invite everyone to get up and say hello to those around you, and those far away, please make sure that no one who is unfamiliar feels unwelcome here. Okay. Before you all sit down, if we could all turn around and wave to those who are on the video, who are at home, and have a greeting to everyone there. And now we will recite the words of our chalice lighting. If you would join with me, the words are in the order of service. Thank you, Trent. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony and justice and hope for all. And now if you could also join me in reciting the words of our sabbatical chalice lighting for Reverend Roger. We light this flame to send and receive blessings, warmth, and light to Reverend Roger until his safe return this fall. And now, as is our custom, we will recite the words of our covenant. If you are a guest here, we invite you to read the words along with us, but you are not, of course, expected to. But these words are carefully thought out and are important to us. We, the members of the First Unitarian Church of Providence, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the light we know by many names, and with gratitude for our deep connection to each other and to the larger web of existence, covenant to walk together in our search for truth, seeking the paths of wisdom, compassion, and justice. And if we could now all rise in body or spirit to sing the first of our hymns in the Teal hymnal. It is hymn number 1052, The Blessings of Earth and Sky. There is a slight change in the order of service today. Today's readings will actually be part of the sermon that Trent will deliver a little bit later. So we're going to move on to the joys and sorrows. So we now will read the joys and sorrows of the people of this community, written in the book in the back with candles lit from the candle on the candle stand that was carved by our partner church in Transylvania. So first, from Mary Frappia, a wish for a gentle passing of my first radical friend, Liz Poulter. In the 80s, she was an outrageous activist. She is moving to Hope Hospice. From Dylan Baranski, a candle saying, I recently completed the latest module of a computer science course I am taking, and despite my anxiety, I'm confident that I'll finish the course and have a job by early October. From Roxanne Stern, in memory of my husband, Franklin Stern, who was devoted to the first Unitarian community, he said, a city is never finished. From Peter Larman, a candle of gratitude for the people who do the hardest work on this Labor Day weekend. Too easy to say we owe them a lot. Would be better if we paid them a lot. And lastly, a candle of much love to Charlie Ortman on his big birthday. It has also become a meaningful part of our worship to toll the church bell to recognize the lives lost to gun violence in the United States. And it is very unfortunate that we have occasion to do so again today. This week, 2 children, Fletcher Merkel and Harper Moisky, were shot and killed in Minneapolis. 18 others, mostly children, were also wounded in the event. Please now join me in a moment of silence as we ring our church bell in tribute. And now is our time of meditation, and I will offer a brief verbal meditation followed by an invitation to a moment of silence. During that moment of silence, if you have lost someone dear to you in the past year, we invite you to stand or raise your hand to bear witness to that loss. And if you could join with me and settle into your seats and take a deep breath in and out, and again in, and out. Here in this space we are gathered, called by our sense of urgency or duty or longing for community, called to be together on this day. Here in this space, we are gathered, called to hold ourselves accountable to our values, to remind ourselves of those hopes and dreams and possibilities for which sometimes in the rough and tumble world it can be hard to hold on to belief. Here in this space, we are gathered, called to do our part in the weaving web of human community. Here in this space, some of us have come in pain, physical pain, or mental pain, To those who are dealing with issues of health, we pray and we wish for courage and healing. May we pause and hold gently all the concerns, named and unnamed, that are gathered in this room this day. And in the complexities of community, it is right that in this space some have come with joy bubbling in their heart. May we rejoice together, remembering the wisdom that says that joys are multiplied when shared. May we remember gratitude for warmth, thankfulness for sunshine, appreciation for the simple tastes of whatever food our lives and bodies let us choose. Here in this space, we are called to weave the web of human community. May we pause in our silence. May we lift up at least one blessing, one joy, no matter how small, that has touched our life this week. And may our shared silence be a blessing on our hearts, on this community, and may this blessing extend outward to grace the wider world.
Lost my place here. Sorry, just a second. Oh, there it is. Okay. Apologize. Good morning, fellow humans. Well, we humans are at a point of crisis. I think we all know that. We just heard the bell. That's one of the crises, and we could be ringing that bell every day, 24 hours a day, for all the problems that are in the world, and that's not a good sign. I threw David a curveball by moving my poems down to right now during the message. Instead of reading them before. These are two poems I wrote that are right on the topic. They explain it probably better than I could in just speaking, so I'm going to read the poems. And the first one is called A Reforming World. When our human world, our safe forests, where we could scamper high out of reach of predators, even those who climbed with claws, our grasping hands and feet, pulling us quickly up tree limbs faster than a clawed predator could crawl up the trunk in our beloved forest, keeping us safe and feeding us figs, our world complete and content, safe and shady, until that forest suffered drying air, cooling air, leaving trees weak and vulnerable. We were not yet human, but still primates. Living in the safe and bountiful forest, we pre-human primates needed nothing. Living in our womb-like world of trees, branches, leaves, and figs, so easy, so luscious, so predictable, we were in stasis. The forest, shrinking as trees died, leaving only islands of trees, separating us from one another, requiring bravery, requiring desperation and quickness to scamper from one forest island to another so we could reunite with kin. The forest toyed with us, growing back and then shrinking once again, favoring those who became skilled at moving on the ground as pre-humans. Small primates adapted to the trees do not compete well on open ground. This was after we left the forest. Open ground had expanded around the trees, but then was covered again with trees and back and forth pattern that persisted for a long time. Other human species around the world did not have this training process, this evolutionary challenge to develop stronger heels and a pelvis fit for walking upright. Only in Southeast Africa did our human ancestors have so many dry runs over centuries that released us from the confines of forest and freed us to wander the earth. We began globalization, we humans adapting to all ecosystems, well, except for Antarctica. We became, as we saw it, masters of the earth. We had started in forests in warm climates and only knew expansion and growth and more. We had no limits, nor even thoughts of limits. We multiplied our reach with technology until the technology took over. Whatever the machine could do, we did, thoughtlessly. But now, at our civilization's end, where do we turn? We evolved as social beings, displaying cooperation and empathy. But our machines led us to competition and greed. Our tools had corrupted us. We had become too good to be good. A new reformation is before us, a return to our foundational traits of cooperation and empathy that can be reclaimed locally, but not nationally. The new reformation is localization. We humans have rebelled against centralization of religious power, and now we are rebelling against centralization of civic power. We are localizing. After the pandemic, a movement did start called Thriving Communities. And so this has been around since 2020, 21, whatever, and we've found more and new, more powerful reasons to form local communities where we believe, and I think it's true, that we can be humane as we have always been for 6 million years. We thrived as a species because we cooperated and had empathy. We cooperated so we could do tasks together, and we had empathy so we could accept new members into the tribe or the wandering, the wandering tribes that fed off the land. So right now we have gone away from cooperation and empathy toward competition and greed. And that's the theme of this whole thing about moving to communities. Local communities, if we have more power, more control, more autonomy, we can have a good life. It's pretty clear that nations with so much centralized power and authority and wealth that they will always be corrupt. And someone said, it's not that the power and wealth corrupts people, it's that the power and wealth attracts corrupt people, and as we have seen. So, the second poem is called I Am a Fossil, and maybe I am, I don't know, I'm so old. Mine my memories, go ahead. At each layer of my material memory is evidence, a glimpse of how one thinking organism, one self-aware being, one all too sensitive human experienced turmoil. How could one escape images of burning cities in the early 1940s? Or not shrink in terror about the A-bomb? Or not dig a shelter pit at the back of the farm acreage, way too mammoth a hole for a 7-year-old? And what to make of reporting in 7th grade class each day the number of MiGs the U.S. had shot down the previous day? Was Korea worse than McCarthy? But Levittown and consensus wooed us back to normality, that we somehow had returned to agrarianism, the pure and simple life close to the land, even half an acre. Sputnik, Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, the world on edge, the movie On the Beach is on everyone's lips, but then it is gone. A vision too dark, too real, too nihilistic. But yeah, the 60s and music I could dance to, spirit I could embrace, a newness, youth and gay clothing, and in your face. Dallas was pushed back in memory, and Sergeant Pepper reigned. Mallorca blossomed from that 60s miasma, sundowners and siestas, swimming in La Cala, climbing iron cliffs to see structures built by the Moors 1,200 years earlier. July 4th, 1976, bicentennial in London? Why was I there? What did Londoners think of Independence Day? I did not ask. And so it went, America as world trendsetter, as peacemaker and the economic engine, the good country. Until now, as our greed and wealth corrupts our soul, leaving us despondent at the loss of meaning. Growing our GDP has lost meaning if that only means more super yachts parked in the Mediterranean. I speak of thriving local communities, and people take to heart the message. But how do we humans return to survival of the friendliest, the actual quality that brought humanity to such species success? A society thinking it was survival of the fittest, the strongest, most cutthroat, most savage, most warlike, all in competition like gladiators, this madness, this greed, this ghastly glossomum, a word meant to portray a sick monster, sick with lucre, wild-eyed, hating others, hating itself, wanting only destruction, Beelzebub embodied. Thriving local communities, when we don't trust each other, when we don't believe that we belong, when our culture seems barren and blind, where do we start? A church of the city. Movements start in churches. And now Peter Larman will follow up. Oh, interlude first, I'm sorry. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good morning. Trent has walked us through what the human future ought to look like: peaceful, cooperative, locally based, and just. Getting from here to there is, of course, the critical challenge. We have to build the bridge before we can cross it to safety over the raging waters. The need to build that bridge could not be more apparent right now, when we are up against a ruthless and lawless authoritarian regime that fully intends to shut down all channels of democratic decision-making, and that has no respect, only contempt for any of the principles Unitarians hold dear. Fortunately, for the past 2 years, this congregation has been working from a playbook, a strategic plan, that aims to augment our strength and effectiveness in public justice advocacy by aligning us with other community-based activists and organizers here in Rhode Island. The part of the plan that is called Rising Up to Bend Toward Justice discusses the importance of forging these alliances, and it invites us each year to choose just one or two public concerns, public arenas, where we can make a positive difference by surging our collective power strategically as a 500-member congregation situated within a small city. The plan invites us to become a church for the city in a way we've never been before, a church that has the pulse of what's going on, that knows where the pain is coming from and how we can help address it. I should add that delivering on this pillar of our strategic plan, the public justice pillar, constitutes the hardest to achieve goal within the entire plan. There are many reasons for the difficulty, sociological and economic reasons, that we can go into some other time, but I want to say it's far from hopeless. The good news is that we are already having major impact in two hugely important key areas where our neighbors are feeling intense pain. Our housing and homelessness team is not only finding ways to provide direct relief, shelter for those who need it, but is also going to the root of high-cost housing, which often has to do with simple greed, with restrictive zoning, and with legislators and regulators who are in bed with the developers and the real estate investors. The other area of acute pain right now, needless to say, is the persecution of immigrants, the demonization of immigrants, the random abductions and terrorizing of people living here without documents and of people living here legally with documents. On this front, our sanctuary team has been doing phenomenal work, direct solidarity work, protest work, and critical fundraising work in support of the community-based organizations that are best positioned to provide and protect for the most vulnerable. We will need to scale up all of this vital activity during the coming church year. In order to do that, we will create more avenues for you, for all of us, to be part of it. In a typical church, I've seen many typical churches of roughly this size, leadership in justice action tends to burn out a handful of key activists. We see that kind of burnout again and again in church after church. As envisioned in our strategic plan, however, what we call our first U Justice League will be preparing, equipping, and motivating more and more folks, all of us, for participation, so that the work and the responsibility become more broadly shared. During the year ahead, staff and volunteer leaders will work together to show you very simply and very clearly where you can find your own place within our public justice work. We will also be helping everyone understand the crucial difference between providing charity and combating structural injustice. This is a distinction that every effective justice church needs to understand, although not in a way that diminishes the importance of continuing the needed charity work. At some point soon, we will create another congregation-wide opportunity to refresh ourselves on all these matters and to sharpen our collective focus. We need everyone to walk with us because right now we are called to do two very difficult things at once. First, we must stand up forcefully to defend basic rights and freedoms in the face of a rapidly advancing Made in America fascism. Containing and then quenching this firestorm could not be more urgent. You follow the news. You know that the brown shirts are not just coming, you know they are already here. This time the sky really is falling. It's chilling, and it's real. And to paraphrase Thomas Paine, these are the times that try our souls, that put our courage and our core commitments to the test. And if we do not stand up, who will? And as we are standing up, we also need to enhance our internal capacity to help incubate the equitable and peaceful and vibrant local future that Trent talked about. Bringing that capacity to bear will someday be our sweet spot and our joy here at First U. That's if we ever get to that point. But again, let us not kid ourselves. We will not get there unless we secure the necessary space and time, which is to say, unless we join forces with others in our state and across the nation who are organizing to repel the authoritarian tide that now threatens to drown us all. And so, my friends, are we prepared to face the supreme challenge of our lifetimes? May I hear you say, we are. We are. And one more time. We are. We are the First Unitarian Church of Providence. We are rising up to celebrate and serve. We carry the light of divine love as we rise and resist. Satan and all his minions cannot and will not prevail against the light of love. Amen. Our hymn is number 349 in the big hymn book. We gather together. Please rise as you are able for the hymn.
Now is the time of our offertory. We are a spiritual community who govern ourselves through democratic process and who support ourselves through our collective generosity. We take responsibility for how we conduct ourselves as individuals and as a community. The love and generosity are among our core spiritual values. Our annual pledges are an expression of that generosity, which provide most of the financial support for the mission of this church. And our weekly offering is a visible symbol of that support. We invite you to join in the spirit of love and generosity as the offering for the mission and vision of this church is now gratefully received. And as always, we thank you for all that you give, all that you do, and all that you are. We have a few invitations this week. The first is that there, in light of what Peter was just talking about, there is a benefit dinner for the Central Falls Family Emergency Fund on September 28th from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Shark's Peruvian Cuisine at 1420 Broad Street in Central Falls. There will be an all-you-can-eat buffet. It is $50 per person. We encourage you to go. Now, this is the last of our summer services, and I would like to just briefly recognize the many people who helped make our summer program come to fruition. And this includes the entire worship committee, many of whom are here today. Beth Armstrong, who enlisted our many fantastic musical performers over the course of the summer. A host of very talented speakers, Trent and Peter among them. On our technical team, who helped with the recording and the audio. And of course, Pedro and Jaime and Nancy and the UU staff who've supported this work all summer long. It is a real privilege to be part of such a devoted, thoughtful, loving, and talented community. And next week, our new program year begins with our first service led by Reverend Liz at 10:30. Well, next Sunday is actually the in-gathering where people will be gathering around 10:15 out on our front steps. The service will begin at 10:30. And it is also our water communion, so please remember to bring some water that is significant to you for something that happened this summer or something else. And of course, remember today that there will be a gathering. We invite you to join all of us afterward in the breezeway behind me for some snacks and community and fellowship. And as always, don't forget to read our First Few Times. It comes out every Friday in your email so you don't miss any important information. And now, if you would all join me in the chalice extinguishing. Thank you, Trent. And if you can find the words that are again in your order of service. We carry the flame, the peace and love and hope until we meet again.